Hey brother and sister, it's Pastor Jonathan coming to you from outside on this cloudy day. It felt appropriate to kind of film from outside today given what I want to talk to you about. The skies are a little bit overcast. It kind of looks like it's going to rain, but I don't know, it might not. But I want to talk to you about Genesis chapter 7, which is the beginning of the flood narrative. The story that of Noah and his family, and God asked him to build an ark and gather two of every kind of animal, male and female, and get them inside because a great flood is coming to wipe out humanity. And it's such an interesting story. It's one that's deeply troubling for many reasons. We get the feeling while reading it that God has had enough. That this gracious God that we see in the person of Jesus Christ has a breaking point. And in the early stages of humanity and our development, God reached that breaking point with us. But the story has all different kinds of interpretations and meanings. And I want to start by talking about a little bit of what happens in the story. You see, when God shuts Noah and his family inside, the process of destruction looks like the undoing of creation. So we remember that in 7 days God created the world and he declared everything to be good. And one of the crucial steps in creating was separating the waters of chaos, the waters from above and the waters from below. And so after God had done this, dry land appeared, and there was now a space from which life could take place. And what we see in the flood narrative is the undoing of that. The waters in the heavens above come crashing down, and the waters from the deep burst forth. And this space where life could happen, the dry land, is overtaken once again by the waters of chaos. And none survive except for Noah and his family in the boat, in the ark. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because that can seem like God is fed up and punishing, like we talked about before. And our current situation, sometimes we get that feeling as well. That maybe this pandemic is to punish us as a world because we had gone too far away. We talk about all the time, oh, this world is a broken place, and you spend 5 minutes on the news and it's clear that we don't live in a necessarily perfect world. But I want to talk to you about that, because in the flood narrative, only one party repents. Only one party changes their mind. And it's not humanity. We know that. If only humanity had repented, what a wonderful place this would be. But humanity starts out wicked at the beginning of the story. And humanity ends the story still very much wicked. But God's changed. At the end of the story, God repents of what he has done to humanity. And as a result, God hangs his weapon of rain, this rainbow in the clouds, lays down his arms and says, "Never again will I do what I've done." That's powerful. Now, I am not wise enough to know the mind of God and say that this pandemic is not allowed, our situation is not somehow a cause of divine action. That is not in my authority to say. But I think our conclusions when we jump to that, whether we're jumping to say that God caused this or God has nothing to do with that, I think we answer that question out of a place of insecurity and fear. Because there's this deeper question that we're searching to find an answer to, and it's the same feeling that Jesus had on the cross. Because when everything's swirling around us and the chaos seems to be reigning, our question is, my God, why have you forsaken us? Are you doing this to us on purpose? Are you trying to teach us something? Have you come to the breaking point with humanity? God, we feel forsaken. And I think that's the deeper issue in our hearts this morning. As this pandemic continues to go on and experts are predicting another spike or another wave of the virus, then it can be left in our hearts to, when is this thing going to be over? Our God, why have you forsaken us? And brother and sister, I want to encourage you that God himself, God's self, knows what it feels like to be forsaken. And we see that in the person of Jesus Christ. And I want you to know and be confident of the fact that God loves you and God has not forsaken you at all. God is still moving and working in our present situation to bring about healing and restoration and redemption in our own world. And God is still inviting us to be a part of that redemptive work. So I want my practice for you today is to be honest with God in your prayers. I know that's simple, but that can be incredibly difficult. And if this pandemic has begun to wear on you as it has me, then I invite you to pray the simple prayer that Jesus prayed on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? May grace and peace be yours in abundance today and every day, friends. You are loved.